Right. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Hannah Crayk and I'm a consultant at Morris Hargreaves McIntyre. MHM is a cultural consultancy that works with organisations in the leisure, culture and heritage sectors to provide strategy and insight. And I'm here with the lovely Jenny Tegg, Head of Marketing at Chester Zoo. So for anyone who hasn't been aware, Chester Zoo were running some weekly sessions, live sessions with their audiences, which I think definitely stood out as one of the kind of standout bits of digital lockdown content over the period. I know we had lots of people watching them from our team just to keep an eye. And, you know, they followed that up with a fundraising campaign, a Save Our Zoo fundraising campaign, which raised a kind of incredible £2 million in 48 hours. And then from there, worked on lobbying the UK government to open safely with social distancing, and were successful. So it's been a really busy few months, a very busy few months for Jenny, and we just haven't had an opportunity really to have a catch up. And we wondered whether actually maybe a lot of people would be quite interested in what's been happening behind the scenes at the zoo. So we cheekily asked whether we could record this conversation, and Jenny very kindly agreed. So thank you, Jenny. But yeah, it's so lovely to see you, in kind of not in person, but as close as we can get right now. But yeah, I guess just thinking back to the beginning of lockdown, all those months ago, I guess we just wanted to kind of get a sense of, you know, when lockdown happened, what were your strategies for maintaining audience engagement?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a whirlwind, really. We were definitely not an organisation that was used to working from home and working away from the zoo. And obviously, the majority of our keepers and animal care staff actually had to stay working very much as normal, but with the safety restrictions in place. So actually, you know, the zoo was operating, the animals were still here and being cared for. And so it was kind of a not too great a leap to actually just say to people, you know, life at the zoo carries on and we'll give you a sneak peek behind the scenes. So I think, you know, the first thing that we really kind of got a handle of is our virtual zoo days, as you mentioned. And, you know, that was something that we were able to launch quite quickly. The audience know us from Secret Life of the Zoo. So we have quite a national kind of profile in terms of, you know, those behind the scenes kind of interviews with keepers, etc. So it was a format that kind of our audience were quite kind of used to. And I think it's fair to say that the first one that we did pretty much broke the internet. We weren't expecting quite so significant demand, and I think it was at a time when, you know, parents were panicking about homeschooling, and you know, we were all kind of looking for that kind of fix of kind of social and emotional kind of stimulation, I guess. And you know, I think what came through very, very strongly from our first and subsequent virtual zoo days was that, you know, people were absolutely enjoying commenting and saying, you know, sharing their experiences of the zoo and kind of finding that kind of social group quite reassuring. They absolutely loved hearing from our keepers and seeing the animals. And, you know, a lot of our visitors have quite emotional connections, particularly our regular visitors have those emotional connections with our animals. And so, you know, I did get a sense just from our social media feeds that, you know, those days were very kind of helpful to people who were obviously kind of adjusting to a kind of changing world and you know, a changing environment for them. So yeah, it was exciting. The first one, we very much understood that people were following Facebook Live for the first time. You know, lots of people going to our website going, how do we log in? And that kind of thing.
Like, how do you?
So yeah, it was a bit unexpected. The first one, we got over 1 million views of our first virtual day, and you know, we had 6 interviews with keepers throughout the day, and you know, really, really close up and personal experiences with the animals, which I think was exciting. And, you know, other things that we were doing, just regular email updates. I think, you know, particularly for our members who were kind of unsure about what was happening, we immediately extended their memberships by a month to kind of reassure them that we were, you know, thinking of them and you know, just to hang on in there, and we would update them regularly. And membership retention really was something that was kind of high on our list of objectives. making sure that we were keeping in touch and giving them the opportunity to connect with us as often as possible. And also our learning team were really, really well prepared. We've for a long time had lots of online learning resources available on our website. And so really just driving people to those resources. And I think it really did bridge a gap and fill a need at the time. And also just reminding people and reinforcing those messages around our mission. So, the care for our animals and, our conservation programs never stopped throughout the whole of lockdown. We were still focusing on mission and making sure that we could keep those programs going. And, that was something that we really wanted to remind people. And it did stand us in very good stead, I think, when we did come to the Save Our Zoo campaign to remind people that it was very much business as usual for us from an animal care point of view.
And I guess at the start of the process, did you have any measures of success that you were thinking of, or just as you were going through, was it? I know.
No, it's been a constant surprise, the whole process. So, I think we were just doing what our gut feeling, we know a lot about our audiences. We study our audiences a lot, as you know, and, we have a good sense and a good connection with them. And, we were just being really, really responsive to that knowledge and our own needs just to kind of keep our profile high. So, it's scary when you see your website traffic drop off a cliff and, you're obviously not selling any tickets and that kind of thing. And so we were just really, really keen to try and do as much as we could to stay in people's consciousness. I think the results of that really took us by surprise. And it was really hard to say we weren't going to do another virtual day when we got over 1 million views for our first one. So it kind of really set the tone for moving forward. It was a little bit trial and error, but based on what we knew our audience really loved about us, which is kind of getting close to those animals and our keepers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you touched on your fundraising, but I guess could you just talk us through a bit in terms of your thought process behind that, and what do you think it was that led you to mobilise such a high level of support?
Well, I mean, we had been kind of putting out quite a lot of supporters messages kind of throughout the lockdown period. It absolutely was kind of front and centre in our kind of campaigning alongside the kind of resources, etc. So, it was something that we'd kind of thought about, and we'd got a little bit of traction, but not massive amounts. And I have to say again, this was a campaign that really came from the heart. So a few days earlier, we had just heard that zoos had been told by the government to close their doors indefinitely. They couldn't give us a clear sense of when zoos might be able to reopen, and with no regular funding coming in through our gates, we are 97% of our admission our income comes from our admissions. We absolutely had nowhere to go, really. So we had a very small team working at the time, a handful of marketing, PR and fundraising staff there, and it really was about kind of saying, this is our fight for survival, this is our last chance. We can't continue. The zoo costs £1.6 million a month to run. We can't cut those costs, we can't cut corners with our animals, and we were really facing quite a dire situation. So three of us sat around our kitchen tables, our respective kitchen tables, and we just wrote some content which was absolutely how we were feeling at that moment, and I think that it was an appeal really to anybody that's ever loved the zoo to really help us when we absolutely needed it, it very much took us by surprise. So we launched it, we received news that we can reopen on the Monday. We launched first thing on Wednesday morning, and I remember within about an hour I said to our fundraising manager, I think we might raise £500,000 here. And she said, no. But we did. We raised a significant amount of money. And I think, the success of it was, timing. We really were in a dire situation, and, we weren't mincing our words. It really was a fight for survival at that moment. We'd held off doing any kind of very strong messaging around support. We're quite an upbeat kind of positive brand. We're also very open and very personal, and we were just really honest with people up until that point, and we were trying to be very jolly and carry on as normal. I think the moment that we said, actually now this is serious and we need your help, it really resonated with people. They really understood that, and that kind of emotional connection that people have felt. We've built our brand on really making memories with people, and people, we're part of people's lives, and we're quite a big kind of figure in our local community. And I think I had people contacting me saying, we will never let this happen to you. As a community, we stand by you, and we will help you out. So that was great. So in the first month, we raised £2.6 million on our Just Giving page. We also had other contributions from corporate supporters and individuals. So we've got about 1,300 fundraisers still out there fundraising for us. We had about 130,000 donors in total from 78 different countries. So that just goes to show kind of how kind of global it went, and how far and wide. So most of those fundraisers are individuals, and I think Chester Zoo does feel like very much like a kind of a community kind of focused organisation because of that kind of personality and that personal approach that we take. So anybody from people with happy family memories to an academic interest in wildlife or an interest in our conservation work, people really did seem to think we were part of their community. We sales of our adoptions went up 8,000% in the month of June, so that was exciting. And as you were saying earlier, we also did feed in a political element to this. So actually our aim was, rather than relying on donations, we absolutely wanted to get the zoo open, and that was really going to be the thing that led to our survival. So we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes with DEFRA, and we were in touch with them, and we understood their positions. And I think just asking people to contact their MPs to raise the issue, to raise awareness of the impact. And everybody was struggling during lockdown. There were a lot of businesses that really needed help, but I think just raising the profile of our plight and the consequences of that, I think really seemed to resonate with people. So within a few days of us launching our campaign, we got told that we could reopen, and then we had to regroup, kind of get back on our feet, and initiate our reopening plan.
Yeah, exciting stuff. So obviously you've got those 130,000 supporters out there on top of your audience as well. Do you have any sense of, I guess, how you're going to maintain that level of goodwill and support in future?
I mean, it was pretty overwhelming. So we very quickly, once we reopened, we changed our messaging for our Save Our Zoo campaign. And what we were saying is, thank you very much for all your support so far. It's been incredible. However, we're not out of the woods yet. And effectively, that is the same position that we're in now. I mean, obviously, a lot of businesses are facing kind of much reduced income levels because of the social distancing restrictions. And we are definitely in that camp. So, our Save the Zoo campaign continues. We are kind of maintaining the campaign for the rest of the year and reinforcing that we still need some help. So we had a bit of media committed pre-lockdown that we kind of paused and put on hold. So we're going to be using that just to kind of remind people that we're still here and we still need their help. We've been doing a lot of CRM work, a lot of kind of phone calls, a lot of emails to our donors and our fundraisers, and just responding to all of that goodwill and support, and just reminding them how absolutely crucial that is, and putting a focus on kind of regular giving and helping us in a variety of different ways. So yeah, absolutely, we've been focusing on giving back a lot of love to our support.
So I guess obviously you've always had your membership scheme, but going to that kind of regular giving that's like a new avenue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had regular giving schemes set up already, but yeah, quite a small number of kind of individuals using that option. So yeah, it's opened up a whole new kind of group of audience for us. There is crossover, so a lot of our members did support us financially and donate as well. But yeah, lots of people saying we've not visited for 30 years, or I've just seen you on the TV and I really want to help. So yeah, our CRM strategy has become much more interesting over the last few months, and yeah, we've got an awful lot more kind of work to do to kind of show our commitment to those people and to keep them updated and let them know how we're getting on.
Interesting. But thankfully you are now reopen. Very pleased when that news got announced. I guess, is there anything that you would share with people in terms of lessons you've learned now? Because obviously there'll be a lot of organisations out there who will be in the middle of their reopening plans themselves. Yeah, any kind of news or thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, our experience has been very much hold on to your hats. We have experienced very, very high demand for tickets. Obviously, we're restricting our numbers significantly, and it's our busiest time of the year over the summer period. So we are definitely outstripping the supply in terms of the demand that we're seeing for our tickets. We'd done an awful lot of work. We've got a large site, 130-acre site, to try and maintain social distancing and all the safety messages and measures that are required of us. So we had already done all of that preparation work and kind of had really good systems in place for keeping that going. Generally, the feel around the zoo is that everything's very calm, very, very positive, really good feedback from customers. If anything, you know, it's a little bit less busy than normal because, you know, and we're kind of restricting viewing areas and that kind of thing, but people are saying actually it's really nice that when you do get to the viewing area it's very relaxed and, you know, you can take time and you get a good view. So generally people are very, very positive. There are some people who are feeling nervous about being out in the world again, and that is understandable, and so just supporting people. And we have a very large what we're calling our welcome team, so representatives from all across our organisation, from our chief executive to you know, our accounts team, our finance team, everybody is out in the zoo at least for half a day a week, actually helping visitors, talking to visitors about social distancing and enabling them to relax. So that, you know, we're kind of taking the stress out of having to remember to do the social distancing, because there's always a member of staff around to help. So I think that has been really nice in terms of we're connecting very, very closely with our audiences. They're connecting on a much more personal level with us, and that's created a really warm atmosphere. So I would say, yeah, get out and talk to them as much as you possibly can. Our biggest challenge has been dealing with demand for tickets. So, you know, we've had thousands of visitor inquiries each day. Our very small team are working through those as quickly as they can, but we are starting to see some of that frustration coming through now that visitors are kind of not understanding that, you know, our workload has quadrupled and we still have the same level of team in the zoo. So yeah, some kind of frustration from visitors that we're dealing with, I would say. Our online platforms have been taking a real battering because obviously everybody needs to pre-book, and so I would say if you can upgrade your server now, please do so. We've implemented a queuing system on our website to try and manage demand. But
has that helped?
Yeah, it massively has. Yeah. So we get these peaks in traffic when we release new ticket availability. So we're trying to release as little as possible, as infrequently as possible. But yeah, we have had to implement a queue system because we have seen our poor shop drop out a couple of times. So I think that's something that's been our biggest headache.
And do you think that might also help with them? Because we know across the sector that dropouts is an issue. Do you think that might also help with that? If, you know, if people have to spend an hour in a queue waiting for a ticket.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. I mean, yeah, so members are entitled to book tickets for free, obviously, to get access, and we do see, you know, there is a dropout rate in terms of you know, members using those tickets that can range from 10 to 30% on some days, which is frustrating because we want to get as many people through the zoo, so we're adjusting our capacities all the time to try and reflect that kind of demand so that we can get access for as many people as possible. But yeah, my experience is that people are pretty determined to get those tickets, and so we've had Thanks, Connor. Yeah, we've had lots of people who are very determined to get tickets, and that's brilliant. Brilliant to see so many people. So in the last 48 hours, 80,000 members have booked tickets for August. So we're seeing very, very significant demand.
Yeah, that is a lot of demand. Okay, well, I guess just, it's been a crazy few months, months that hopefully we will never repeat again. But do you have any things that, if you reflected back on it, because obviously you said that you had to be so flexible and just kind of seat of your pants was what you said.
Yeah.
With anything kind of looking back, would you think, yes, we might have done that a little bit differently?
Look, I think under the circumstances, I am so proud of our whole team. I think, we have absolutely come together and just done the job that needed doing. And there's a lot of extra hours being worked. And generally, I think everybody's done remarkably well.
Yeah.
What I would say probably my biggest learning, is be really, really proactive with your comms. So, before we reopened, we, wrote endless FAQs, and we changed our entire website structure to kind of talk to people about safety measures and the new kind of visiting conditions, I guess. And we filmed videos to tell people what to expect. But I think, the frustration is that very few people read your website, which is difficult. And, we were sending pre-visit emails and post-visit emails and that kind of thing. But I would say that, as soon as you start to see trends in terms of visitor feedback or questions or queries coming into your inbox, be really, really proactive about getting those messages out across social media and through email, because just relying on people going to your website and reading proactively, I think is a mistake. And what we've been able to implement recently is, as soon as we get feedback through our guest services channels, we immediately implement a communications plan around that particular issue, so that we can be really, really proactive and get to people before they come to us. So yeah, I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, we've honestly been so impressed with everything that you've been doing. But as you said, sadly, kind of perhaps not out of the woods yet, although we would love to be. But do you have any plans for what comes next, or?
Yeah, we do. We have to be realistic that we're going to need to reforecast. So in 2019, we welcomed over 2 million visitors. That's not going to be the case moving forward. And our organisation needs to kind of flex and change to kind of understand that new framework that we're working in, and our new financial position. So lots of reforecasting happening, and adjustments in the organisation is our first challenge. The second one is just keeping up with the changing demands of the safety regulations and things like that. So just in the last few weeks, we've set up NHS test and trace tracking. Face coverings just came out yesterday. So, we are absolutely just flexing and demanding, changing according to the demands of what's required of us. So that's our short-term issue. We are looking at additional revenue streams. So how do we continue with our fundraising? We launched during lockdown a new online shop. We will be kind of constantly trying to innovate in terms of events and virtual school visits and things like that. So we've got that constant innovation. If people can't visit, how do we kind of get our mission to people? And so we're all working really, really hard in terms of our digital offer and income generation, I guess. We are slowly and very safely kind of increasing the number of visitors that can come to the zoo, and that's by opening up new spaces, indoor spaces reopening. It's through kind of one-way systems and just really learning constantly about our operation so we can get to somewhere near normal. But things that we've learned that we really love is actually our welcome team have been a brilliant asset to us, and in terms of that, constantly engaging with our customers and constantly asking for feedback and constantly being honest with them. So we're just creating our next members magazine, which is going to be a Save Our Zoo special, celebrating all of the fundraising heroes and all of the supporters that we've had, and I think that's something that we absolutely want to harness. We know that the majority of our members are expression. They absolutely do love that sense of community, that sense of being part of something, of being part of, our family, I guess. And so we are looking at creating a community hub on our website, which will bring people closer together to show people what, you know, the strength of support and the strength of engagement that we have around the zoo, and that, you know, there are a lot of like-minded people that love the zoo as much as they do. So that's going to be our really next big project, I guess. And we're working with our youth board, who were implemented just before lockdown, so they haven't actually been in the zoo that much, but yeah, working with them to kind of say, how do we kind of create a safe space and a sense of community around the zoo in a virtual sense. So yeah, still lots of work to happen. And our Christmas event will be going on sale very shortly as well. So the show will go on, and
that's good.
Yeah, we're trying to get back to as near normal as we possibly can.
Oh, well, it's lovely to kind of end it on some positive plans for the future. Absolutely. Well, I think that's all my questions for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So thank you so much. It's been lovely to catch up.
Lovely to catch up.
Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you okay? Thank you so much. I'll